Be on the record.
Yes. Microphones are hot. So tell your story. Later.
Okay.
Okay. The time is now 1:30 p.m., and I hereby call the February 10th, 2021 meeting of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Before we begin, I have a few announcements. The February 10th meeting is being held in person in the 4th floor council chambers of the City County Building with Zoom video and phone teleconferencing options available via links and phone information posted at our website, sjcindiana.com/ABZA. In case anyone needs the phone information, our call-in number is 312-626-6799. The meeting ID is 920-4191-6243, and the password is 791546. We will be muting people calling in or using the Zoom video until the public hearing is opened. If you are on the phone viewing this, please use *9 to use the raise hand feature to be called on, and use *6 to unmute. To use the raise hand feature on the Zoom video, click the controls at the bottom of your screen. If you have two computer videos open or have a phone live active with a video window open at the same time, you will create an echo effect, making hearing you impossible. Please choose one option. In consultation with the St. Joe County Department of Health, the following protocols will be in place for all meetings held in the council chambers. Face coverings will be required for everyone in the chambers, including board members, petitioners, presenters, and members of the public. Regarding public comment, we will first ask for any public comment from those sitting in the chambers, which at this point there are none, and then in the auxiliary seating in the building. Again, none. Once those in person have provided their comment, those calling into the meeting remotely will be given the opportunity to provide public comment. Those wishing to provide public comment in person should line up next to the footprint stickers on the floor leading up to the podium. Hand sanitizer has been placed next to the podium. We ask that you sanitize your hands after you leave the podium area. It's your discretion whether you sanitize before you speak when you're sitting at home. Sign-in sheets for public comment have been removed to prevent anyone touching the same pen. For this reason, please clearly state your name and address for the record. So anyone that is dialing in from a Zoom call, please make sure you speak your name and address for the record. Please do not be surprised if you're asked to spell your name for the record, and your speaking time will not start until after this is done. We appreciate your compliance with these guidelines and your patience as we navigate these unprecedented times. Due to wearing face coverings and the benefit for people listening over the phone, we ask that our board members state their name when making a motion or a second. Lastly, please silence your cell phone so it doesn't disturb any of the meeting. So I will reiterate, we can mute you all together at the same time, and you have the ability to unmute yourself. So during the public session, if you would like to make a comment, you can either raise your hand or unmute yourself, but do know that if you start to interrupt other people after the time has passed, you will be muted by the staff. So we go the petitioner section, then we open it to the public for public comment. Comments for or questions about the petition start then. Then you have anyone that wishes to speak against it, and once that is closed, it is closed. So there's no if you have things you want to talk about, make sure you do it during the public portion, please. Just a quick synopsis of how this will go. Once we have a roll call and some introductions, we will have we will have a reading of the petition, and then staff will have comments to give the board some indication as to what has transpired up to this meeting. And then we will be able to have the petitioner speak about any additional comments they have on their petition, and then we will have the open session and any comments from the board itself. So may we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Moffett.
Jim?
Jim.
Yeah, say you're here.
You're
Here.
here, Jim Moffett.
Ms. Deutscher.
Present.
Mr. Hawley.
Present.
Mr. Ritsima.
I think they're calling us up in a minute. We're called Lydic residents.
Mr. Ritsima. Mr. Schaefer,
Here.
Mr. Urbanski,
Here.
Mr. Vellman.
Here. We are a full board now. I would like to welcome Mr. Jim Moffett from the town of New Carlisle. He is the, what did I say? He's the town representative, correct?
He's the area plan town representative to the BZA.
Very good. We were one member short for almost the last, what, 3 months? 2 months. So welcome, Jim. Thank you for providing your service. There's no pay, so unfortunately I don't get anything like that, but, you know, we thank you for your time spent with the board. So, excellent. Okay. We have all members present today. So there are 7 members on this board, and it does take a 4-vote majority on either approval or denial of the petition, so you stand the best chance to stay with the full board, thankfully. So, all right. May we have the reading of petition number 1, please?
The petition of Cassandra Reyes seeking the following variance from section 154.070 C1D1A, the maximum height of a fence with an open space percentage of less than or equal to 70% of 3 feet to 6 feet for a fence in a minimum front yard. Property located at 24733 Lancer Drive, Portage Township, Zoned R, Single Family District, County.
1 second. I forgot to make one announcement. If you are here for petition number 3, which is 16085 Jackson Road, that one has been requested to be tabled until the March 2021 meeting. So you don't have to stick around if you're here for that petition. Sorry. Staff?
All right, this is Abby, Director of Area Plan Commission. This property, or this petition was tabled at the last meeting. If you recall, it's been tabled at the last 2 meetings. There was a lack of clarity at the meeting last month about where exactly the proposed fence would be located. Oh, thanks, Sean. So following the meeting, Ryan Fellows and myself reached out to Victorio Reyes. I believe he's the father of Cassandra, who's on the line. And we let Victorio know that right-of-way along Lancer and
Eastleigh.
Eastleigh, thanks, Cassandra, is 60 feet, so 30 feet from the center line back is approximately where the property line was located. We talked with Victorio about what we needed in the site plan in order for the petition to move forward, and he submitted a revised sketch. As proposed, the fence is going to be 8.5 feet from the house coming out toward the street, and then approximately 51.5 feet from the center line, which would be 21.5 feet from the property line approximately, because there isn't a survey, but going off of the right-of-way along Eastleigh. It will be, in terms of material, chain link for the sides, and then the rear will be wood. So staff feels, after looking at the revised application, that we can support the request. And looking at the state code criteria, it's not going to be injurious to the surrounding area. There's other fences that exceed the height. It's going to be set back from the street and from the property line quite a bit. There was discussion about the fence being located adjacent to the sidewalk. As proposed, it's going to be approximately 21.5 feet back. Won't adversely impact the surrounding properties, and then strict application would make it, does present a practical difficulty in meeting the terms of the ordinance, even though it's still going to exceed the maximum height. It's only going to be within a small portion of the front yard setback. It's not going to be along, right up next to the street as what was originally discussed.
Excellent. Thank you, I very appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ms. Reyes, do you have anything to add to your petition?
No, I mean, I think everything that it was presented it's what we're looking forward.
Okay. Any questions from the board for the petitioner?
Do you have any questions, Cassandra?
No.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, the public portion is now open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or have questions about this petition?
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to? Seeing no hands raised, the public portion is now closed. Any additional discussion, or I will entertain a motion on this petition? So now that we have dimensions, it's a little bit easier to kind of put together where this is going to be, at least in my opinion. So it's at least 21 and a half feet from that edge of the street, which is considerable, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I make, Bob Hawley here, before I make the motion to accept, I'm glad that we asked him to move this to the present meeting because it's much clearer and I'm completely satisfied with the arrangement. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance as requested.
Great, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mike Urbanski, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to accept the petition as requested. Sam, would you call for the vote, please?
Ms. Deutscher?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzema?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes,
Mr. Urbanski?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
He is abstaining from voting for this at this time.
Mr. Villeman?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, finds variances granted and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you for getting that back to us. We really appreciate that. Helped us out a lot.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your assistance with completing everything else that was requested, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have the reading of petition number 2, please?
The petition of Brownstone Estates LLC seeking the following variance from section 154.107C1, the minimum required front setback of 35 feet to 25 feet for new homes on lots 12 through 16 of Brownstone Estates major subdivision, property located on the east side of Brownstone Drive, approximately 700 feet north of Adams Road, Harris Township, zoned R, single-family district, county.
Staff?
This is Sean Klein with Area Plan Commission staff. Yes, so the petitioner is requesting a front setback reduction from 35 feet to 25 feet for 5 lots in a subdivision. State law provides 3 criteria by which this board is to make decisions for variances requested. Those being that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. And the strict application of the terms of this chapter would result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Staff finds that in this instance, the variance meets each of these criteria. We find that it's not a threat to public safety because it'll still be set back 25 feet from the right-of-way, which is still adequate. We don't feel that it'll have any impact on public health, morals, or general welfare, not to a substantial degree. We feel that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property will not be affected substantially, mainly because if you look at the image here on the slide, Brownstone doesn't run due north. It actually, it deviates to the east slightly. So when you look at where this setback will actually fall on the ground of the lots, they're still going to be in line vertically with one another, that is running north to south, and meet this 25-foot setback rather than the 35. We also find that the petitioner has demonstrated adequate practical difficulty in complying with the 35-foot setback because there is a substantial septic mound system easement to the rear of the parcels. It's 56 feet wide. And due to the bend in the road, the actual buildable area of the lots decreases as you go northward, which you can see from the proposed replat that will occur after, should the variance be granted. We did receive 3 phone calls from the public. These were from neighbors in the subdivision to the east. They were mainly concerned about the effects of the septic systems on the wells to the rear of their properties. Upon learning that this wasn't really something that was going to be discussed at this proceeding, they didn't necessarily have any comments on the front setback issue. We also received a letter in remonstrance from a resident of Brownstone subdivision. She was concerned that the front setback would have an effect on the uniformity of the neighborhood. And furthermore, she felt that since other parcels in the subdivision complied with the 35-foot setback, although they had that septic easement to contend with, she felt that there wasn't necessarily sufficient practical difficulty demonstrated.
Question?
You can ask him a question, certainly.
Got a question on it.
Yeah.
The land north of this property, of the said lots that's requested now, do they intend to continue back north with this subdivision with the road? My question is, otherwise there's going to be a landlocked piece of property.
I don't think that they, and the petitioner can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that they currently own that parcel that is north of Brownstone Drive. Since there is a substreet that ends there, should that be subdivided in the future, we would require the extension of the street in most instances.
Okay, great. All right. Is the petitioner on? Do you have any additional comments you'd like to make on your petition?
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Mike Huber with Marsh Consultants, 315 West Jefferson Boulevard in South Bend. And I appreciate your time and your consideration of our request this afternoon. I'm representing the developer of the subdivision, who's the actual petitioner. Sean's right in that we don't currently control the land to the north. The petitioner doesn't. But we have, in the development of the plat, created and included the stub street to allow for future connectivity should that warrant at any future time down the road. Sean, I think, also did a really nice job explaining to you the limitations that we're up against in terms of the narrowing of the depth of the lots and the buildable area. I like to point out the average depth of lot 17 is about 222 feet. The average depth of lot 16 is about 15 feet more narrow than that. And it goes down by about 5 feet per lot, all the way till you get to lot 12, which is about 36 feet less, with 36 feet of less depth than lot 17. So we're really kind of squeezing these lots in terms of buildable envelope for not just the houses, but potential pools or accessory structures in the rear yard as well. In fact, if the 35-foot setback were to be enforced on lot 12, let's say, we'd actually have 94 feet of depth that's buildable. And there are homes in this subdivision right now that are approaching 94, 95 feet. So it's a really tight envelope, and granting the 25-foot front yard variance would give us about, these are 100-foot wide lots, so that gives us about an extra 1,000 square feet of land, which we could use for usable buildable envelope. So I'd like to point out this is kind of the first step of the process. We've also got a pending replat because the original plat included the 35-foot setback on the actual plat itself. So we have to replat that as well. But we're asking for your consideration and the relief from the setbacks to allow us this opportunity. One final thing I did want to mention, I think as Sean mentioned, even with the 25-foot setback, the home on lot 16, if you're measuring from the rear, the east property line, it'll actually be set back 5 feet behind the lot on the house on lot 17. So it will still give the appearance that there is incremental setback all the way progressing north from there. We won't be in front of the house on lot 17. We'll actually still be 5 feet behind it. Even though, technically we will be 10 feet closer to the street, I think we still kind of fall in line in compliance with the kind of the front visual edge that's established by the two current homes with a 35-foot setback on lots 17 and 18. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Hube, you may or may or not know, originally when this whole subdivision started, why did they bend the road like that? Because obviously the houses on the west side have some extremely deep lots, and now you have some extremely short lots. Is there a reason that bent that way, just from my own curiosity?
So we were not involved in the original design of the subdivision, so I really don't have an answer to that question. I'm assuming it might have to do with the need to, as Mr. Hawley asked earlier, to provide that connectivity and that stub street to that property to the north. In order to meet the right requirement, we would have had to get to that kind of southwest corner of that parcel in order to make that connectivity. So I think that would probably be a possible explanation for why the road angles off to the east like that.
Okay, so it curved over to match up that property line to extend the road even more if it needed to. Got it.
Correct.
Okay, that makes
Correct.
sense.
Are you, Mike Urbanski, are you required to put a turnaround at the end of the street since for the time being it's going to dead end there? For fire
There is a
trucks?
turnaround there currently. There's a gravel turnaround at the end of that street, in the front yard of the last home at the northwest corner.
Okay.
And that's existing currently, yeah.
Any questions from the board?
That was constructed to county standards.
Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Ritzma?
How many years ago was this development started?
I'm not aware of when this was developed. I think it's a fairly recent subdivision, but I don't know the date of when it was actually initiated.
I was thinking for septic reasons they wanted
I
to
don't
do
ever
this.
recall setback variance on them lots.
Okay. If there's no other questions from board or staff, thank you for your petition. With that, we will open it up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or have questions about this petition? Nobody? Okay. So it was noted that there was an email that we received, and there was one question, I guess, about the mound system is a known factor on this street. Is that a common occurrence in that marketplace of a mound septic system?
The mound system obviously was developed, I'm guessing, due to health department requirements based on the soil types in the rear yards back here. So typically, this 56-foot mound setback is, I think, atypical for most subdivisions, again, driven by the soil types most likely. Typically, it's a 40-foot rear yard setback, and you accommodate 2 septic systems within that kind of 40-foot rear yard setback. That's the standard typical subdivision guidelines.
And I think we've said it, but I just want to confirm. So even if they're allowed the 25-foot setback, they still have to go through somebody to get the septic systems approved after this, correct?
The septic systems were already approved through the major subdivision, so they are replatting, but essentially all that's going to do is remove the setback line, because the septics were approved
But
during
everything
that.
else is in conformance with what's going on with that area?
Exactly.
Okay, all right, just wanted that clarification. All right, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? None? All right. Seeing none, the public portion is now closed. Is there any additional comments, questions, or I'll entertain a motion on this petition?
Mike, I will speak in favor of it, and yes, make a motion to approve.
This is
Done.
Christine Deutscher. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Sam, would you call for the vote, please?
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzema?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Deutscher?
Yes.
Mr. Urbanski?
Yes.
Mr. Veltman?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, finds the variance is granted and will issue and finds the facts. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Appreciate your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Can we have the reading of petition number 4, please?
The petition of Rodney Kurzall and Andrea D. Osborne seeking the following variance from section 154.107B, the minimum required lot width of 100 feet to 61.2 feet for Lot 4 of a proposed subdivision. Property located at 55267 Pine Road, Warren Township, zoned R, single-family district, county.
Abby?
All right. This is Abby Wiles, Director of Area Plan Commission. The proposal is to split off, or to, for a reduction in the lot width, to allow 4 lots where 3 would be allowed. Lot width of 100 feet is required. As proposed, the width of Lot 4 would be just over 61 feet. Staff is recommending approval of the variance. Without the variance, as I mentioned previously, it could be subdivided into 3 lots by right. The variance will allow the rear of the portion, or the rear of the property, what is shown as Lot 4, to be developed. Staff has gone back to the petitioner and asked for them to redesign, because as it's shown presently, the lot width doesn't continue within the front yard setback and 30 feet back, and per the zoning ordinance, it would have to be a minimum of 100 feet within the first 65 feet from the property line, and the petitioner has indicated that he will redesign. And staff has also asked the petitioner for clarification on the property lines for Lot 2 as well. But in terms of the state code criteria, we don't feel that it would be injurious to the public health, or injurious to the public health, safety, morals, welfare. Again, 3-lot subdivision would be permitted without the variance. What they're proposing is 4, to allow for the development of the rear parcel. And then just for clarification, because I know we have received some questions on this, if it's zoned single-family, only 1 single-family home is permitted. As proposed, they're not requesting permission to subdivide Lot 4 and allow, multiple homes. It would be 1 single-family home. Use and value of the area adjacent to the property wouldn't be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Again, 3 lots would be permitted by right. Variance is allowing them to have 4. Strict application to the terms would result in practical difficulty in the use of the property. This is allowing them to better utilize the rear portion of the property. And then just want to note that this is the only variance requested. All other developmental requirements are being met. And then in terms of accessing the rear of the property, we don't have like a setback that's required for the drive. There's sufficient space to allow for access to the rear of the property. We did get some communication on this prior to the hearing today. We have a letter that was submitted from the residents of Edison and Pine Road. And there's some concern about the development of the subdivision. The residents stated that the appeal of the neighborhood is the country landscape, and they're concerned about the development of a subdivision and how that would impact the wildlife. There's concern about the financial impact of the development and how taxes would increase. This was signed by 13 individuals, what appears to be 10 households, because you have some husband and wife that have also signed. And I believe that we do have someone on the Zoom that is Leidick residents that I would assume would be for this petition.
So it's an interesting development, because by standards, Lot 4 can only have 1 house on it. When you hear the term subdivision, you think of rows and rows of houses of being in that same area, which is not the case. In this case, even if they did everything properly with no variances required, they could build 3 houses right there and behind anyone at any time. They're just asking for a 4th opportunity to do that. So it's an interesting concept, so, okay.
Correct, and I would ask the petitioner to clarify as well, long-term plans for each of the individual lots.
I might have missed, Mike speaking.
Yeah.
I might have missed this when you said it, but is the right-of-way along Railroad South Shore tracks, is that wide enough for a entrance? I forget what they're supposed to be, 30-foot wide minimum?
So the proposed width of Lot 4 down at the bottom is, I believe, just over 61 feet.
61.2 feet.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, that's all right.
So that will,
Ask the question.
I mean, if you're thinking about like a driveway,
Oh, I see it, I'm sorry. Yes, the drive going to the back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I missed it down at the bottom, right here.
well, you're good.
Okay.
And the real thing is if you think about it, if they make the first 2 lots and don't get and use the 61 foot, it's still their 61 foot. They could use it for a driveway anyhow. We can't stop them from using it for a driveway
No.
to get back to their 16 acres.
Right. Okay, well, let's hear from the petitioner. Is the petitioner here?
Yeah, this is Terry Lang from Lang, Feeney and Associates. Our address is 715 South Michigan Street here in South Bend. I represent the petitioner in this case. The configuration is a little bit unusual, particularly for Lot 2, as Abby had indicated. There's an existing older farmhouse there that is being rehabbed and would like to have a little bit of extra space by the older barn building behind it and a little bit extra room on the sides. We will adjust those back, as Abby had indicated in her portion of the presentation, to make the appropriate width at the setback as necessary. This is approximately 24 acres. It is zoned residential. We could potentially put as many as 30, 35 homes back here on this piece. The developer of the property is only interested in putting in 4 homes on the property. And the configuration that you see is his desire to give a little bit of space around the existing older home that's on the property, room for nice homes on either side of it. And then the large parcel, the 16 acres in the back, would be for a single home also. There are no plans for any more than the 4 lots that you see right here, which I think is probably a lot of the concerns that maybe some of the residents in the area have, that we're going to be putting in, 35 homes back there. And that's not the case. So the variance that we're asking for is just to allow for the driveway for the last Lot 4 to have that 61.2 feet as the frontage for that lot.
Terry, lots 1, 2, and 3 are very unique, and they're all 2.53 acres. What's the significance of having them all be that equal?
It was just trying to keep them all equal in size that the developer wanted.
Okay. And right now, there's only a house on Lot 2, so there could be houses on Lot 1, 3, and 4. Will those be oriented towards the back of the lots, or where do they have proposals for those to be potentially built on those lots?
At this point in time, I put together a tentative layout. About midway back on Lot 1 would be where the home would be located for Lot 1. Lot 2 is the existing home. Lot 3 would be located more toward the back third of the property. And Lot 4 is tentatively set at this point to be in the southeasterly corner of that Lot 4.
Okay. Because Lot 4 is almost 100% wooded at this time, correct?
Correct.
Terry, this is Bob Hawley. Do you have any idea what the soil conditions are out there?
We have done soil borings for all 4 of the lots at this point, and all of those are good in-ground septic systems by the guidelines set by the St. Joe County Health Department.
Thank you.
This is Christine Deutscher. So we plan on developing single-family homes here. Do you have any idea how much of the wooded area will be cleared? Is that been decided or discussed at all?
Well, when you look at the aerial map there, you can see that the 3 lots to the front will probably be in the cleared areas that you're seeing. The 4th lot, the larger parcel in the back, as I indicated, will probably encompass maybe 1 to 2 acres in the southeast corner. So 14 acres there that would remain somewhat undisturbed.
Okay. Any other
And this
questions
is
from the board? Oh, sorry.
Donnie Ritzma. And for Lot 4, there are no future plans to subdivide that further?
There is no other further plans.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Lang. With that, the public portion is now open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or have questions about this petition? Anyone?
Hello.
wishing- Yes,
This is Dan Carter and representing the residents from Pine Road and Edison Road. And I think you clarified all our questions that we had. And as long as it's all a single family dwellings on those properties, I think we're all okay with it. We kind of heard the word subdivision and we thought instantly a trailer park going in there or something, whatever, just multiple homes. And we were just concerned about that.
understood. And I'm glad we were able to clarify that for you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to? With that, the public portion is now closed. Any additional comments, questions, or entertain a motion?
This is Bob Hawley. I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance as requested.
This is Donnie Ritzman. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please, Sam?
Mr. Urbanski? Mr. Urbanski?
I'm sorry, yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
That me, yes. Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Mr. Ritzema?
Yes.
I don't think
Mr.
the
Hawley.
mic's working.
Yes.
Ms. Deutscher?
Yes.
Mr. Velleman?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, finds these variances granted and will issue ratifying the facts. Thank you, Mr. Lang.
Thank you.
We have the reading of petition number 5, please.
The petition of Mitchell Lawmaster and Jana L. Engel seeking the following variance from section 154.092A, the minimum required lot area of 20 acres to 2 acres for Lot 1 of a proposed subdivision, property located at the parcel on the east side of Miami Highway, approximately 1,800 feet north of Quinn Road, Union Township, Zoned A, Agricultural District, County.
Who gets this one this time? Sean?
This is Sean Klein with Area Plan Commission staff. Staff recommends approval of the variance request because we find that it does meet the 3 criteria brought to us by state law for consideration. We feel that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. This is actually a buildable lot of record. It was in existence since 1948. So by right, they could build a single-family home on this parcel. All that they're really electing to do is to create a smaller residential parcel of 2 acres and then put the remainder in an outlot, which will continue to be cultivated as farmland. So in this case, it won't result in the creation of an additional buildable residential lot in the agricultural district. For those same reasons, this will not be detrimental to the use and value of adjacent properties, because once again, there isn't going to be a residential use beyond what the zoning ordinance would already permit. And we feel that strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance would prevent a subdivision which practically ensures that the 14.34 acres of cultivated farmland will remain in active agricultural production. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Sean, Bob Hawley here. Did you say that the remaining area would be an outlot?
Yes, sorry, it is going to be an outlot, correct?
Okay, thank you. I see it now.
Yeah, I apologize.
Mr. Lang, would you like to add to your petition?
Terry Lang from Lang, Feeney and Associates. I have nothing additional to add. Sean summed it up, except a parcel that was created back in 1947, I believe it was. So it's we would be allowed 1 building permit on the site. And what we're looking to do is the proposed Mitchell Lawmaster home that's located on Lot 1 right there has family living in the area right there, right across the street, and is looking to be in the family farm area right there to help out. So the petition is before you to take the rest of that and make it into an outlot.
Yeah, this is a unique one. Usually you already have a house there. You're not wanting to build a house, but it obviously serves the same purposes. If you're doing an outlot and saving the 2 acres, it's buildable one way or another, so, yeah.
I thought there might have been one too at one point. In all the records I looked back, there had never been a home built on that piece. It looked like in that same southwest corner, the way the soil looks on the aerial map, that there might have been a home there at one time in the past, but that was of no avail.
Right. Any question for Mr. Lang from board? Okay. With that, the public portion is now open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or have questions about this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to? Seeing and hearing none, the public portion is now closed. Any additional comments, questions, or I'll entertain a motion from the board. Nobody wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to have it approved as presented.
Bob Holly seconds that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Mr. Utsima,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Deutscher,
Yes.
Mr. Hawley,
Yes.
Mr. Urbanski,
Yes.
Mr. Veltman.
Yes. Based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, finds the variance is granted and will issue it and find the facts. Thank you, Mr. Lang.
Thank you.
Staff, we have the reading of petition number 6, please.
The petition of Alexander P. and Janice M. Zell, attention Mr. Charles Janosic, seeking the following variances. One, from section 154.092A, the minimum required lot area of 20 acres to 1 acre for a lot in a proposed subdivision. 2, from section 154.092C, the minimum required lot frontage of 200 feet to 137 feet for a lot in a proposed subdivision. And 3, from section 154.092D, the minimum required rear yard setback of 30 feet to 16 feet for an existing pole barn on a lot in a proposed subdivision. Property located at 31068 US 20 Highway, Olive Township, Zoned A, Agricultural District, County.
This is Sean Klein with Area Plan Commission staff. So what the petitioner is hoping to do here is to essentially divide off the house that's along US 20 from the strip of cultivated farmland to the rear of the property. And then the adjacent farmer has expressed an interest in purchasing this property, which will be placed into an outlot. And they're actually currently tilling the property as is. This requires the 3 variances because they'll need the typical lot area 1 to create the smaller than 20-acre lot. They'll also need that lot frontage variance just to legalize the existing frontage of the lot in front of the house. And then there is a current garage or barn rather, that they'll need that rear setback variance. And they really want to draw that rear property line closer than the 30-foot setback just so they can keep more of the cultivated farmland on the outlot, which staff supports. When we look at the 3 criteria provided by state law, we find that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because it's not going to result in the creation of any additional buildable lots in the agricultural district. It simply just allows an existing residential use to continue. Similarly, the use and value of adjacent properties will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because it will be continued to use as presently with the front portion used residentially, and then the lengthy rear strip will continue to be farmed. And we also find that strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulty because it would not permit a subdivision which allows the adjacent farmer to own a portion of productive farmland that they already till, and to ensure the ongoing productive agricultural use of this farmland after the house is sold. We did receive one email on this petition. Mainly, they were looking for some clarification. They wanted to know how the farmland is presently being accessed, which is from the adjacent farmland. Other than that, just basically a question as to the future intentions, which it is the intent of that farmer to purchase the outlot. Staff does recommend approval of the variances, but we do request that this is on the condition that an ingress-egress easement be provided on the property adjacent when this goes through the subdivision. That way, should this strip of property, the new outlot, fall into distinct ownership from the adjacent farmland for any reason, it can still be accessed. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So we would need to add that condition onto our motion?
Yes.
So how wide would the ingress egress be?
I am thinking 30 feet, and I know the petitioner is amenable to the ingress egress easement, so we'll have to see what they have to say.
Mr. Dan.
But that wouldn't allow you to build a house on that property then?
No, it's
No,
an outlot anyway.
Correct.
No, but just because you got an ingress egress,
It's not buildable.
it's not buildable.
Right.
So in turn, I'm like, you're landlocking it. If the neighbor farmer's gonna buy it, he needs to marry it to his other
Yeah.
property.
You should.
That'd be
I
recommended.
wouldn't worry about the ingress egress. I would say it'd have to be married together. That way you don't ever have the issue.
Just for clarification, since we have counsel standing by Brandy, would they be able to require that as a condition
They
of
can't.
approval?
I do not believe so. They can't really put the condition of a sale
Yeah, we can't tell that.
that might happen in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can't make a driveway there either, for any kind of residential. It'll always be a bare piece of ground.
That's the intent, though. I mean, we.
Whether it's tilled, whether the farmer buys it and tills it, or whether somebody else buys it and just leaves it fallow is, or whatever that
Right.
is. Yeah,
Can never be built.
never built on, correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
I bet
Then somebody will come back and ask for a driveway permit on the 30-foot.
Nah. We don't have to put it in there.
I'm just saying, we're creating a can of worms if we do
Well,
it.
I understand, I understand.
I still recommend that when you talk to the petitioner or the buyer of the property, to recommend, use the word marrying it or combining it with the property next door. It's
I
gonna make
imagine
things
at
a
the-
heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, I imagine at the very least they'll consolidate it under the same tax ID. But maybe the petitioner can
We'll see.
You
Mr.
get the
Dan?
form.
shed some more light on this.
Maybe we'll ask Mr. Dan. Mr. Dan, should you have anything to add to this petition?
Oh, sure, what the heck? Mike Dan, Mike Dan from Dan Charner says it's 1643 Commerce Drive here in South Bend, representing the petitioner, obviously. And Sean basically had said everything that we're doing. What we're trying to do is split off the existing homestead. There is an interested party that wants to buy the house and where the pole barn is. So what we did was create a parcel of ground. I cut the line as close as I could to where the existing agricultural farm field is. So we need the variances for the setback, the acres. And because this is an existing parcel that goes way back, but due to the ordinance requires a minimum 200-foot of frontage, we're asking for the variance down to 137 feet approximately. To get over to the farmer, the farmer that my understanding is owns the adjacent properties out there. And he would like to obviously continue farming this ground. He will purchase that property. As mentioned during your discussion there, we will be creating an outlot. I did give them the option when I talked to them about taking that outlot and adding it to one of his existing properties.
Puta sucia, guanquera, culo roto, cabeza.
Oh, no,
We're being
not
bombed.
again.
We're being Zoom bombed.
Oh, we were so close.
What was that all about?
They're trying it again.
They're trying to bomb our Zoom meeting with
Oh, I suspended all activity.
gibberish and other stuff.
Cool.
So what do we need to do, Sam?
1 second.
We got 4 members up here.
As soon as I heard it, I knew that was.
I saw people
Who?
joining and I
Well,
was
no,
like,
he's not- he's
who
not
are
ready.
these people? Why are they joining?
He could.
Are we, yeah, we're muted.
It's
Okay.
it's to his best interest to marry them together.
Yeah, and I'm sure if he owns the 2 lots around it, he's gonna marry it.
Well, there's nobody that says he's gonna though.
All you gotta do is get the form in the auditor's office, fill it out, and take
Can
it
you
back.
kick
and
people
it's
out?
married.
I don't see why he
Block
wouldn't.
meeting.
I don't either, but I guess when I
Good
see,
job, Sam. Kick 'em
see
all
that
out.
sort of thing,
I
all
am.
I
I'm
see is
kicking
an
people
argument.
out.
and
I
fight
love
coming
it,
down the road.
Sam.
Pablo Escobar, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Hassan.
Hassan started, when I saw Hassan pop up, I was like,
Yeah, that was the first.
that's gonna be an interesting one.
Okay, so Brandy, us, Christine, Mike, Bob.
There was nobody
Donnie.
else on,
Yep.
so I'm
No,
fine.
All right,
You're good
so
now.
can I keep the meeting locked?
I think so.
I think so.
We're good.
All right.
Hello, this is Abby. We had another attempt to be Zoom bombed, as we were for our last, or 2 area plan meetings ago. Sorry about that, Mike.
Oh, no, that's fine. Did you guys vote and approve everything? That's great.
We unfortunately have 3 voting members in
Unfortunately,
the
if they
building
did,
right
I'd
at the
have to
moment,
tell them
so.
to do it again.
So, but you get back to the last part. The discussion was with the farmer that the option is that at some point he could take the outlot and recombine it with one of the parcels of ground that is adjacent to it. I looked at the GIS. It looks like he might own 3 adjacent properties there. They just didn't want to go through the survey cost right now because I would have to actually survey one of his parcels in order to add it to the outlot and to make it one larger piece. So what we were asking to do is just create the outlot. As had been mentioned though, that is not buildable no matter what. We will do the 30-foot ingress and egress easement, which would be typically just for the farmer, so that he legally could have access to that outlot. If somebody ever wanted to try to build on that, they would obviously have to come back before the board to request that. And I would see that as very difficult to approve a buildable lot in the middle of a farm field behind other houses. So what we will end up doing is creating a 1-lot minor subdivision with that outlot, and then we'll record an ingress and egress easement. And if you got any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
I'll make a comment that from a farmer's point of view, 30 foot's not enough.
Well,
Elkhart County's got a 100-foot easement
Really?
for agricultural use.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah. On their rules.
Well, if I was a farmer, I wouldn't like that pole barn jutting all the way out into where I'm gonna till as well,
Well,
too,
no, I agree
but-
with you. I'm just looking at it from
I
the
mean,
farmer's point of view.
that's a significant difference to have to go around that still, but he's doing it right now, so I guess he doesn't care. He can also access it from his other properties, so.
Well, yeah, if somebody else would buy it for some silly reason,
Right.
you're back to the square one of a fighting match.
People are buying stupid properties.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Any other questions for Mr. Danch? Thank you, sir.
okay.
With that, the public portion is now open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or have questions about this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to? Seeing and hearing none, the public portion is now closed. Any additional comments, questions, or is there a motion that you can make any way you want to, if you choose? I'm looking at you because you've got some passion
I'm not
about
gonna
this.
pass it.
You got some passion about this.
No, I just know what could happen,
Well, yeah, I know.
and I think there needs to be a better plan put in place.
I think that's beyond our scope of
It is, it's
expertise.
beyond us, so,
Yeah.
Beyond our pay grade.
Yeah, beyond our pay grade, which is nothing, so yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I say, make a motion, we do not approve it.
Okay,
Just for the simple fact of making a piece of landlocked piece of property that cannot be built on and is very poor access for farming purposes.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
We should approve of this.
Disapprove, to deny the variance as requested.
Can I make a suggestion?
I don't know. Candy, Brandy?
Who was it?
It's Mike.
Danch?
Would the board like to hear his suggestion?
Sure, let's hear a suggestion.
Okay,
Then he can make it.
yeah. Well, if the board has that big of issue with that, then, I do the condition and we agree to it that he has to add it to his adjacent parcel. And the legal description would have to be rewritten to take this property and add it to the adjacent parcel that he owns.
I would say that would be acceptable.
Well, we have a motion, so we have to do it first, right? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Danch. We will
Okay.
take that under advisement. Is there a second on a motion to deny the variances as requested? A second to the motion. Losing it here. Motion dies for lack of a second. Again, I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny as you see fit.
Yes. Okay.
This is Bob Hawley. I would like to make a motion that we approve the variance requested for the property on Highway 20 as presented by Mr. Danch, subject to his suggestions to meet access to the property from the neighbor.
So just for clarification, Bob, you're not saying the 30-foot of ingress egress, you're saying that if they marry the parcels, that is your condition?
No, I would be willing to accept the 30-foot.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood. So the motion is to accept the variance as requested with the 30-foot ingress egress as proposed by staff. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please, Sam?
Ms. Deutscher?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzema?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Mr. Urbanski?
Yes.
Mr. Bellman?
Yes. Based on testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, finds the variance is granted and will issue written finding the facts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danch. Have a good afternoon.
You too, thank you.
Good discussion, though, Cindy. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. I mean, I see both sides of it.
I'm not in the fight, so I don't care.
I know, we're doing what we can, so. Okay, I have in my possession a written finding of the facts. I'll entertain motions to approve as written.
I'll make a motion. Bob Hawley, I'll make a motion to approve the finding of the facts for the, this would be for the January 13th, 2021, excuse me, meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mike Urbanski, I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have a copy of the minutes for the January 13, 2021. A motion to accept as written.
This is Christine Deutscher. I'll move to accept as written.
Second?
I'll make it second. Sid Schaefer.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have one last bit of additional business as well, too. Mr. Urbanski?
I been on this board just over 25 years. And at 75 years old, I think it's time to let somebody new, younger, come aboard. I've left messages to Mr. Castelny, Commissioner Castelny, who I'm appointed by, and told him that the last meeting that I'd attend would be the March meeting. In doing so, I just figured I'd give him a couple months to get a replacement, so we wouldn't be short. I've enjoyed the years here, and time goes on, and time for somebody else to move into position. That's all I got.
Well, thank you very much for your time served. a previous job I was at, they made me find my replacement.
Really?
Yes, they said you can't quit until you have somebody to replace you.
Oh, okay.
I'm just messing
No,
with you.
you know, and I think we've got some of that happening now. You know, we've got a farmer present, a realtor present, we had 2 realtors present. But just to having somebody in construction, Joe here, just to kind of have a little bit of everything, so when stuff comes before us, we all have something that we can add to it. And I think that's important here, than bringing in quote-unquote a banker or a teacher. And I'm not saying they wouldn't do a good job, but it's good to have somebody that we deal with all of our items. I really want to thank, and this has been a while back, but the present control of the board's predecessors, who over the years, you know, there was a time that we'd have 20-some here. I've already been here to 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And mention names, Larry, Angie, they went ahead and got in conjunction with the planning department, had a lot of things added and changed in I forget what the big thick book.
All the ordinances?
The ordinances. To tie in, where, you know, so many things that change as per time, you know, we used to have sign ordinances up to the yin, you know, that come before us. And so many things that was repetitious, and, I mean, we're down to 6 now. And my last thing is saying, I think it's a shame that the city split off from us, because the combination of both of us would still only be 8 to 10 items in front of us, okay? And those up here have enough, there's enough involved with involvement in a city too, to have some knowledge of the city. So anyway, I thank you. It's been a pleasure being on here for 25+ years.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it very much. With that, is there any motion?
I have an item that
Brandon?
needs addressed. I believe it was Mr. Muffet, is that correct?
Mr. Moffett?
Our new person?
Yes, Jim Moffett.
He abstained from the first item. We need to get on the record what that was for.
Oh, he abstained from all the items. You can explain. He just got appointed yesterday, so he didn't have time to review the petitions and get any type of good, valid, information on them, so he abstained from all the voting for today. He was here to observe. Sorry.
Okay, so that should be noted in the minutes, please.
Sam is shaking her head yes.
Will do. Thanks for keeping us straight, Brandy.
Just wanted to make sure it happened.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
There you go.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you all. See you next month, maybe in person, hopefully. Mr. Moffett, thanks for being here. As you see, I don't run a very formal meeting. I try and have some fun with it. It's generally the only time that a lot of our constituents have an interaction with a government agency, and probably their idea of it even coming into it isn't a great one anyway, so.